You're sitting at a glass table. Your pulse is 112. The investor is smiling. The slides are flawless. The numbers sing in unison. Everything says yes. But in your solar plexus, there's a chill. Not fear, not doubt. Just a signal. Stop. You ignore it. Because you're a rational person. You're wrong. Your brain has already processed what your eyes missed. A micro-expression on the investor's face, 1/25th of a second. A tremor in their voice at the word guarantees. A discrepancy in their gestures. Your subconscious pieced the puzzle together in 6 seconds. Your insula, your internal thermometer, registered an anomaly. And you signed the documents. You felt it before. In negotiations, in relationships. When choosing your route home, your body sent a signal, and your mind drowned it out with the noise of logic. But intuition isn't a voice from nowhere. It's a pattern detector, trained over years. Your brain compares the current situation with thousands of past ones, instantly delivering a verdict. No reports, no presentations. Just don't trust. 85% of top entrepreneurs in America make key decisions based on this very gut feeling. Not despite the data, in addition to it. Because data is silent about what hasn't yet become fact. And intuition catches the vibration of the future. Stop. Remember a time when you ignored that feeling. Where exactly in your body did it reside? Your stomach, your chest, your palms. Memorize this map. This isn't anxiety. Anxiety screams, constricts, paralyzes. Intuition whispers, clearly, calmly, without drama. And here's where it gets interesting. You can train it, like a muscle, like a skill, not by blindly believing, but by checking, by recording, by analyzing feedback. Because intuition isn't magic. It's your brain working at full capacity, while you think it's still booting up. His name was Mark. He sat in a coffee shop in Soho, pulse normal, hands dry. His partner smiled, gestured, quoted figures. Everything, just like in the slides. But in his chest, a click, as if someone had set a silent alarm. Mark ignored it. He signed. 2 months later, the project collapsed. Debts, lies, divorce. Later, reviewing the recording, he saw it 1/25th of a second. A micro-expression of insincerity. His brain caught it. His body reacted. His conscious mind was too late. You felt it too. In negotiations, on a date, in an elevator with a stranger, a cold sensation in your stomach, goosebumps on your neck, a slight slowing of your breath, not a thought, a signal. Intuition isn't a voice from nowhere. It's a pattern scanner. Your brain instantly compares the current moment with thousands of past ones. A face, an intonation, a pause before the word honestly, even the smell of sweat. Yes, it carries information. All this processing happens in the subcortex, especially in the insular cortex, your internal thermometer. Functional MRI shows this area lighting up 6, sometimes even 10 seconds before a conscious decision. 10 seconds, an eternity for neurons. The body knows. The mind catches up. Stop. This is not an emotion. Anxiety is a scream. It constricts your throat, quickens your pulse, makes you think of disaster. Intuition is a whisper. It doesn't say, run. It says, pay attention. Clearly. Without drama. Without images. Just physiology. Warmth in your palms. A slight tension between your shoulder blades. A slowing of your gaze. In trust game experiments, participants avoided insincere partners, without knowing why. Their bodies had already made the decision. Their brain recognized the discrepancy. The face says yes. The voice says yes. But a micro-tremor in the partner's fingers, a fractional delay in their gaze, that's enough. You feel it, but you don't understand it. So intuition isn't magic. It's hidden analytics, a background process working at lightning speed. But here's the trap. Not every signal is truth. Sometimes it's just fear disguised as wisdom. Sometimes it's a projection of past pain. How do you distinguish? Here's the key. Intuition doesn't require confirmation. It simply is. Anxiety clings, repeats, seeks proof. Intuition comes once, clearly, and then disappears. If you feel an internal no, don't ask why. Ask where. Where in your body does this signal live? Your stomach, your chest, the back of your head. Remember the coordinates. This is your personal radar. And yes, it's trainable. In the fall of 2008, a week before the collapse of Lehman Brothers, a trader named Jason was sitting in New York. The charts were calm. The analysts were confident. But when he opened the chart for a mortgage fund, his pulse shot up to 130. Not from coffee, not from stress. His heart pounded, as if it saw something his eyes missed. A cold sensation in his chest. A slight pressure under his ribs. He exited the position. Against all reports, 7 days later, the fund collapsed by 92%. His subconscious caught a micro imbalance in trading volumes, a signal his conscious mind hadn't yet deciphered. Research confirms traders who listened to such bodily signals avoided losses 3.2 times more often. You feel it too. Not on the trading floor, but in the meeting room, in the elevator, on a first date. But you confuse the signal with noise, because you don't know where is the line between intuition and anxiety. Here is your personal distinction table. Intuition is bodily. Anxiety is cognitive. Intuition is precise. This contract smells rotten. Anxiety is vague. What if everything goes wrong? Intuition is instantaneous. It comes and goes. Anxiety clings, repeats, gnaws at you from within. Intuition requires no proof. Anxiety demands more and more confirmation and still doesn't believe. Neurobiology doesn't lie. Intuition lights up in the insular cortex, your internal thermometer. Anxiety in the amygdala, which screams, danger, even when there is none. Functional MRI captures this. Your body knows the difference. Do you? 85% of top entrepreneurs in America make decisions based on this inner feeling, not against reason, thanks to a hidden layer of reason. They don't believe blindly. They calibrate, like a pilot using instruments in fog. You're not crazy. You just haven't calibrated. Stop now. Remember the last time something clicked inside. Where exactly did you feel it? Your stomach, your chest, the back of your head. Remember the coordinates. This isn't a hallucination. It's the biometrics of truth. And yes, it can be tuned, like a radar. But first, you need to stop confusing a warning with panic, because one saves and the other drowns. You are a hunter 200,000 years ago. Savannah. Heat. Dust in your throat. Suddenly, stop. A slight chill runs down your spine. Your heart slows. Your breathing stills. Nothing is seen. Nothing is heard. But you're already turning back. Behind the bushes, a lion. Not because you saw it, because you felt it. Your body recognized a shadow in your periphery. The smell of the predator's sweat. The vibration of the earth under its paws. Your brain gathered all of this in fractions of a second and issued a command: run. Don't think. Run. Those who listened to this feeling survived. The rest became prey. Today you are not in the savannah. You are in a meeting room, but your body is the same hunter. It catches a micro-tremor in a voice, a discrepancy in gestures, the smell of sweat that carries an alarm signal. Your brain processes this in the subcortex, faster than you can even start your presentation. This isn't archaic. It's optimization. In a world of uncertainty, where data is incomplete and stakes are high, intuition gives an advantage. Psychologist Gerd Gigerenzer proved simple rules based on such internal scanning are often more accurate than complex models, especially when time is less than a single breath. But here's what breaks the mold. In 1983, a flight crew ignored a co-pilot's strange feeling. He felt a vibration in the control stick. The instruments were silent. The captain said, "Trust the numbers." 47 seconds later, the plane broke apart in mid-air. A fatigue crack, too subtle for sensors but detectable by the body. The same in hospitals. Doctors who dismissed an internal "something's wrong" delivered fatal diagnoses too late. Intuition screamed. Protocols silenced it. So yes, your brain isn't outdated. It's waiting. It's still a hunter. But here's the trap. Not every cold feeling in your stomach is a warning. Sometimes it's just fear, disguised as wisdom. Sometimes it's an echo of past pain, screaming, "Don't trust," even when there's no threat. So how do you distinguish the ancient signal from internal noise? Remember, intuition doesn't require proof. It simply is, clearly, physically, in your chest, in your palms, between your shoulder blades. Anxiety chews, repeats, seeks confirmation. Intuition comes once and disappears, like the shadow of a lion in the savannah. Your brain isn't broken. It's just waiting for you to stop being ashamed of your body and start listening to it. Sarah transferred $500,000. Then she went to a meeting. The founder spoke of a revolution in gene therapy. His eyes glowed. His hands were confident. And suddenly, a click. Warmth in her chest. A certainty. This is it. She told her friends. I just know. But a psychologist later asked, "And when did you first feel this? Before or after the transfer?" Sarah fell silent. Because she remembered, before the transfer, doubt. After, sudden clarity. Her brain didn't predict the future. It saved her self-esteem. It created the illusion of intuition to quell cognitive dissonance. This isn't insight. This is a retrospective illusion, when the brain rewrites the past so you don't look foolish to yourself. You've done this too. Remember, a decision has already been made, a contract signed, a relationship started, and only then comes the inner knowing, as if you knew it all along. But this isn't intuition. It's a protective virus. It masquerades as wisdom, but in reality, it erases the traces of doubt so you don't agonize over the question, what if I made a mistake? Cognitive biases are masters of disguise. Confirmation bias, you only see what confirms your choice. Illusion of control, you believe you can manage chaos. Halo effect, a charismatic voice, and you ignore the tremor in their fingers. All of this works in the background, without your knowledge. And each of these biases can pass itself off as intuition. The brain doesn't lie consciously. It just wants the story to be coherent, even if it's false. Here's your trap. You confuse an echo with a sound. Intuition is a signal from the future. Retrospective illusion is an echo of the past, distorted by the fear of loss. You're not afraid to be wrong. You're afraid to admit you're already wrong. And your brain slips you a feeling of certainty, so you don't tear off the mask. But this is not a condemnation. It's an invitation to calibrate. Because intuition isn't an innate gift. It's a tool. And like any tool, it requires verification. Don't believe every whisper. Ask, when did you arrive? If the signal appeared after the decision, it's not a warning. It's a justification. Your brain isn't your enemy. It's just trying. But you are the pilot, not the passenger. And now you know, not everything that seems like inner knowing is. Sometimes it's just fear, disguised as a prophet. And only honest reflection is your lie detector. After that failure in the conference room, the San Francisco manager couldn't look at his investments anymore. He lost almost everything. 2.3 million. But the worst part was that he knew. The day before the deal, when his future partner smiled, looking him straight in the eye, his throat tightened, as if an invisible hand squeezed his trachea. Pulse, 112. Palms, damp, like after a sprint. He blamed it on stress. Now he sits by the window at 3 a.m. Silence. Only the ticking of an old clock. And for the first time in a long time, he asks an honest question. What if it wasn't fear? What if it was a signal? Activation of the insular cortex, your internal thermometer, 8 seconds before a conscious choice, as Damasio described. The next morning, he buys a simple notebook at the corner store and starts writing everything down. Not just decisions, but also how his body reacted a minute before them. A heaviness in his chest, a tingling in his stomach, a tremor in his fingers. He doesn't know where this will lead, but he no longer wants to ignore what his body is trying to tell him. Because, as Harvard Business School research shows, 85% of successful US entrepreneurs made key decisions precisely based on such unexplained sensations. Intuition isn't magic. It's a skill. And the key to it is interoception, the ability to notice internal bodily signals with the precision of a sensor. Research in Nature. Human behavior proved people with high interoceptive sensitivity are 4% more accurate in distinguishing anxiety from true intuition. How to train this? Buy a notebook. 3 times a day for exactly 60 seconds, ask yourself, what do I feel right now? My pulse? tension in my jaw, warmth in my chest. Write it down. Before every decision, even a small one, note your physical state. Dry mouth, ringing in your ears, slight dizziness. Then, check. After a week, after a month, did the premonition come true? This is how you calibrate your internal compass, like an instrument, with feedback. Dr. Damasio was right. Intuition only becomes reliable when you test it. Now imagine, you're a firefighter in Chicago, a nurse in Boston, a pilot in Denver. Every decision you make could cost someone their life. FEMA field studies showed those who trained interoception simply learned to notice their breath, pulse, tension, made decisions 27% more accurately. Not because they became smarter, but because they started listening to what their body already knew. Millions of years of evolution are no joke. So why do you still ignore these signals? Why does feeling in America mean losing control? Perhaps because data has become the new religion, and Excel spreadsheets, prayer books. But mind and body are not enemies. They are allies. And you can train this. In 60 seconds a day. In San Francisco, the team demands 5 diagrams, 3 levels of analytics, and CFO approval. Every choice is like an interrogation. In Tokyo, the leader falls silent. 10 minutes. Doesn't look at charts. Breathes. Slowly. Deeply. As taught in a monastery near Kyoto. Waits. And only when a warm, steady feeling arises in his chest, like bamboo roots in the earth, does he say, yes. Both approaches work. But one believes. Truth is in the data, the other in integrity, and the brain responds differently. The West loads the prefrontal cortex, the center of logic. The East activates the insular cortex and cingulate gyrus, your internal thermometer and empathy compass. You felt it in negotiations, in an interview, when everything is by the numbers, but inside there's emptiness. You were taught to be ashamed of this feeling in school, in the office, in your family. Don't whine, solve it. Feelings are for the weak. But this isn't weakness, it's a cultural legacy. The West, especially America, instills dualism from childhood, mind versus body. Logic is sacred. Intuition is suspicious. But the East sees body and mind as a single field, like Qi in Taoism or Hara in Japan, a center of power below the navel where confidence is born. Studies in the Journal of Cross-Cultural Psychology confirm, in collectivistic cultures, people trust implicit signals 32% more often. They read pauses, silence, micro-expressions, not because they are dumber, but because they are accustomed to context. You can do this too. You just forgot. But the price of hyper-rationality is systemic failures. A perfect resume and a cold feeling in your stomach. An investment with green metrics and trembling fingers. Logic screams, forward. The body whispers, stop. And you choose the spreadsheet, because data is the new religion, and Excel is the prayer book. But what if the analyses are wrong? As in the case of the woman diagnosed with appendicitis, but whose body screamed no. and it turned out to be an intestinal obstruction. Or as in 2008, traders who trusted their accelerated pulse avoided losses 3.2 times more often. Their bodies caught what the charts hid. You're not broken. You've just been conditioned not to listen. In schools where feeling means losing control, you learn to suppress the signal. But your internal compass is still working. It's waiting. Like a hunter in the savannah, quiet, precise, without drama. Self-trust isn't a weakness. It's a cultural choice. And perhaps it's time to choose again, especially if that choice can save not just a deal, but also yourself. Emergency room, 3 a.m. The doctor looks at the lab results. Temperature 101.7 DSF. White blood cell count, 18,000. Everything screams appendicitis. But his shoulders are tense, as if a weight is pressing down. The patient's abdomen is soft, too soft. His mind says, operate. His body whispers, wait. He insists on a CT scan. Colleagues shake their heads. An hour later, diagnosis, small bowel volvulus. Without surgery, death in 6 hours. Later he would say, I didn't think. I just knew. You felt it too, in negotiations, on a date, in an elevator, a cold feeling in your chest, goosebumps on your neck, not a thought, a signal. The brain doesn't guess. It compares. Thousands of faces, hundreds of voices, millions of microseconds of experience. All this lies in the subcortex, like a library of invisible data. When a threat appears, it instantly finds a discrepancy. A micro grimace lasts 1/25th of a second. A pause before the word honestly, 7 milliseconds longer. The smell of sweat with a hint of adrenaline. All of this activates the insular cortex, your internal thermometer, and the body responds. Constriction in the chest, slowing of breath, slight dizziness, as if you're on the edge. This isn't anxiety. Anxiety screams. Intuition rings quietly, persistently. And here's where it gets most interesting. In experiments at the University of California, participants were asked to choose partners based on faces. Some faces briefly showed micro-expressions of insincerity, less than 1/25th of a second. People couldn't explain their choice. But they avoided these faces 73% more often. Their bodies already knew. Their brain caught the lie before their conscious mind could blink. This isn't magic. It's neurobiology. You can see it too. If you stop drowning out the signal with the noise of logic, stop. Remember the last time something clicked inside? Where did it reside? In your stomach? Between your shoulder blades? In your palms? Remember the coordinates. Because intuition isn't a voice in your head. It's physiology. Activation of the insular cortex, as fMRI scans show, it doesn't require proof. It simply is. Clearly. Calmly. Like a stone at the bottom of a river. And anxiety is chaotic. Your heart pounds. Thoughts race. Your body trembles. Intuition? No. It gives clarity, even in the fog. You're not broken. You're trainable. Every time you note a signal, before the decision, not after, You calibrate your radar, and one day it will save not just a deal, but a life, perhaps your own. So, what is intuition really? It's not a voice in your head. It's a somatic marker, a bodily signal that your brain sends seconds before logic kicks in. Antonio Damasio proved people with damaged ventromedial prefrontal cortex lose the ability to feel these signals. They are still intelligent, but they cannot choose. Because a mind without a body is like a map without a compass. Intuition is pattern recognition at lightning speed. Gerd Gigerenzer showed simple rules based on internal scanning work more accurately in chaos than complex models, especially when time is less than a breath. It's an evolutionary algorithm developed over 200,000 years to survive in the savannah. Today it works in the meeting room, but there's a condition: you must calibrate it. Without feedback, intuition turns into an echo of fears, into a mask for cognitive biases. But with it, it becomes a GPS of integrity. The San Francisco manager is again sitting in the conference room. Pulse, 86. Hands, dry. Before him, a $4.1 million deal. The partner smiles. The slides are flawless, but in his chest, a slight tension, not anxiety, not panic. As if someone is quietly knocking at the door. He pauses, watches, notices at the word risks. The partner's eyes briefly drop. Less than 0.3 of a second. But enough. His insular cortex, his internal thermometer, has already lit up. He doesn't discard the data. He puts it in context and says, no. A month later, it turns out the company was hiding a $12 million debt. He saved the money. But most importantly, he regained his trust. Because now he reads the map written in the language of the body. We live in an era where every choice can be measured, every fear translated into a graph. But in this ocean of data, the rarest superpower is the ability to listen to the silence between heartbeats. Because that's where truth is born, not in Excel, not in PowerPoint, but in the chill at the back of your neck, in the slight slowing of your breath, in the warmth in your palms when everything falls into place. Traders in 2008 didn't read charts. They felt the pulse. The doctor